killing of Hillary Gadi?
So the NPA has reopened the murder case of Hillary Gadi, daughter of EFF Deputy President Godrich Gadi. The case was initially dropped in April of 2023 after a key witness died. Now convicted murderer Rasi Nkuna is charged with her killing. Nkuna, released on parole in January of 2022, allegedly murdered at least 5 people, including Hillary, following his release. The case has been moved to the Mpumalanga High Court, and with the trial set for the 31st of October of this year.
And tell me what the KwaZulu-Natal government has been saying in the wake of this fire that occurred at the Kennedy Road informal settlement in Durban.
This is quite a sad one. The KZN government has pledged to cover funeral costs for victims of a deadly fire at Durban's Kennedy Road informal settlement, which killed 25-year-old Nontle Mbango and her 19-month-old child, Bandile Zulu. The blaze destroyed over 120 shacks and left around 100 people displaced. This marks the 4th major fire in the area this winter alone. Residents have begun rebuilding, while officials promise more support and long-term solutions to prevent future fires.
And lastly, Melissa, the on-leave Minister of Police may have given the order for the political killings task team to start winding up its work, but it seems they've continued to work. One of the cases they've been working, of course, in collaboration with their colleagues in Gauteng, has been this case around the killing of DJ Sumbody.
Yes, so major developments here, and this is the coming years after the murder of popular South African musician DJ Sumbody, also known as Opa John Sifuka. 4 men have been arrested in connection to his murder. He was killed in a drive-by shooting in Woodmead. Among those arrested is a Gauteng businessman believed to have ordered the hit, while the other 3 are alleged hitmen. The weapon used has been linked to other murders. Police describe the arrest as a major breakthrough in the complex investigation. The suspects face charges including murder and conspiracy to commit murder and are expected to appear in court soon. So this will be an interesting one to see the sort of path it takes.
Absolutely, Melissa. And indeed, the provincial commissioner for KZN, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, did foreshadow that there would be something like this, that this is one of the cases that they are working alongside their colleagues from organized crime in Gauteng. Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief for this morning.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, just one warning that has come through from the South African Weather Service. It is a yellow level 1 warning, and it says severe thunderstorms resulting in localized damage to property and vehicles, as well as localized disruptions due to large amounts of small hail. That is to be expected in the northeastern parts of the Eastern Cape. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria will be partly cloudy, becoming cloudy towards midday with a minimum of 6 and a maximum of 19. Johannesburg, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy towards midday, 7 to 17. Mbombela, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy with isolated showers and rain in the afternoon, 12 to 20. Polokwane, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy by the late morning, 9 to 19. Mahikeng, partly cloudy, 7 to 20. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 9 to 18. Kimberley will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 8 to 20. Uppington, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 10 to 23. Cape Town will be fine with a minimum of 11 and a maximum of 19. George, partly cloudy, 6 to 19. Gqeberha, cloudy with light rain in the morning, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, 12 to 17. East London will be cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 14 to 17. Durban will be cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 17 to 21. Richards Bay, cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 16 to 20. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog patches, otherwise cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 9 to 15.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
21 minutes after 6. The aerial war between Russia and Ukraine has escalated sharply over the past 2 days as Moscow unleashed a massive barrage of missile and drone attacks across Ukraine, killing at least 2 people, injuring a number of others, and sparking fires in major cities. Kiev, for its part, responded with long-range drone strikes that disrupted air travel in and around Moscow. In one of the heaviest overnight attacks since the war began, Russia launched 450 missiles and drones at Ukraine on Sunday night, killing at least 2 people and wounding 16, with impacts and debris reported in multiple regions, including Kyiv and Kharkiv. Amid the devastation, Ukrainian drone attacks deep inside Russian territory forced widespread flight delays and cancellations at Moscow's busiest airports. So let's speak to Professor Abel Esterhazy, who is a member of the Department of Strategic Studies at the University of Stellenbosch. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time once again. I was just thinking through this. It looks like a war of attrition of sorts. Yes, there are gains being made by Russia in as far as territory is concerned in parts of Ukraine, but it just seems to be a war of attrition with no significant progress. The intensity seems to be growing. But am I correct in reading it as we've reached a point where it has become a war of attrition?
Well, no doubt. It is indeed a war of attrition. And part of what we are witnessing now, I think, is linked to 2 variables. The one is perhaps frustration on the side of Russia because they're not really making progress on the battlefield. The battlefield more or less have stalled. It is not moving in any direction. We haven't seen major changes on the battlefield in the last year or so. So now it has basically boiled down to this indirect approach of using drones, using missiles, and I think there's, from the Russian side, a fear. And the fear is driven also, beside the fact that it's frustration, there's also fear. And the fear is driven by the 50 days that the Americans have laid out before they're going to respond with their economic strategy on the one hand, and on the other hand, the Russians know that the weapon systems are coming. The support for Ukraine over the last year or so from the West have slowly dwindled away in a way, but it is now coming back, and we know what the US have promised. We've also heard Trump asking questions about whether it is possible for Zelensky, for Ukraine to bomb Russia and Moscow in particular directly. We have seen and we've heard a change in the language from the US. So the window of opportunity that was given by Trump to Putin, I think, has gone, and we're going to see the West stepping up to the plate in the next couple of months. And I think Russia knows that, Putin knows that. We're going to see somewhat of a change, and Russia perhaps now wants to capitalize on the small window they have to make a change.
I don't suppose for a moment, Prof, that the intensification of the aerial war replaces a ground offensive in any way in various regions, including eastern Ukraine. But is there something to be said for that strategy, the preference for the aerial war? For instance, the extent to which the Ukrainians will be feeling that they are able to do aerially what perhaps is more difficult for them on the ground?
Yeah, the bottom line of war, I should say in general, is that eventually you need to occupy the land that you want to take with troops. That's the harsh reality of war. And so you can use an indirect strategy, you can use air power, you can use missiles, but eventually to soften up and to try and break the will, because that's what it's aimed at: the destruction of infrastructure, softening up, trying to break the will. But eventually, if you want to do what Putin has set himself out to do, you eventually will have to occupy land with ground forces. And part of the Russian frustration at the moment is that they're not making progress on land that much. And on top of that, it seems as if they're running out of personnel. There seems to be quite a number of problems with their ground offensive. And one of the key features of the Russian ground offensive now is the manner in which they're bringing in North Koreans. They talk about the Chinese now starting to give them manpower. There's also the involvement of the Iranians. And this leaves us with a question. I think there's two questions here. The one is, Russia has introduced their allies into the battlefield. And that actually opened the opportunity, that actually opened the possibility of the Europeans and the Americans to step up and to step into the battlefield environment on the Ukraine side. I think that's the first point one has to think about. The second point one has to think about is the fact that every single effort to de-escalate, to try and make peace in this war have come from the West. Yeah. We have never seen a peace effort from the Russian side, from the Chinese side, from the Iranian side, from the North Korean side. And it seems as if the West have turned the page in that regard. Yeah. And this is something serious to think about. I'm actually worried about that, because we may actually see an escalation now, and for the first time from the Western side, perhaps seeing fire being fight with fire. This may actually be something for us to think about.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That's Professor Abel Esterhazy, a member of the Department of Strategic Studies in the Faculty of Military Science at Stellenbosch University.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's kick off with the big match tonight. Banyana face Nigeria 6 p.m. with Nigeria performing well in this tournament so far, scoring 9 times in 4 matches. But that's not a concern for Banyana coach Desiree Ellis.
One day in between is not a lot, but you've done a lot of work beforehand. So you're just trying to touch up on certain things. I think it's just finalizing things, working on certain things that we need to brush up on. I think that is the most important thing. There's not a lot you can do that will change things. So it's getting the analysis right and obviously working on just brushing up on certain things, because it's effectively a start-up and a match day -1, so you've also got to take care of that as well.
Elsewhere, Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford has passed a medical at Barcelona before his loan move. The 27-year-old arrived in Catalonia, and that's on Sunday after getting permission from United to complete the formalities of a move. On to cricket, and the Proteas batter Coben Bosch has reiterated the team's aim for more ruthlessness in their approach to the final match of the T20 Tri-Series against New Zealand today.
I think it's something that we pride ourselves to try to be ruthless at all stages of the game, and I think we put our foot off the pedal a little bit in the game, especially in the field. I think we were a little bit lackadaisy towards the back end of that game and just let through some easy runs and maybe a costly drop chance that may have swung the game even more in our favour, where we could have been a bit more ruthless. But I think we have addressed it. I think in the last game, like bat and ball, we were pretty ruthless, so I think we must just do more of the same.
And finally, cycling, Tadej Pogačar says he's ready to fight every kilometre with arch-rival Jonas Vingegaard in his bid for a 4th Tour de France title. Far from resting on his laurels with a 4-minute lead in the standings, defending champion Pogačar insists his thoughts are on closing out the win in the 6 days of riding left. And that's a wrap. We'll be pedaling back at top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Thank you, Tulas. In the headlines this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended South Gauteng NPA head, Advocate Andrew Chauke, pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. The MK Party has welcomed the removal of Nobuhle Nkabane as the Minister of Higher Education and Training. And 4 suspects have been arrested in connection with the murder of popular DJ Oupa John Sefoka, popularly known as DJ Sumbody. I'll have details at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Very heavy delays. Top of Pretoria along the N4 highway. This is the N4 Rustenburg highway. It's a big crash between the Roslyn exit and the Bonnecourt off-ramp. Both ways substantially backed up this morning. Video up on Twitter at Traffic SA. You can have a look at that and see why the traffic is so bad. It is a real mess. That's a problem going to and from Duranport Plaza this morning. Staying in the capital, crash after Rigel Avenue. The N1 South heavy coming down from Gasfontein Road already. Joburg's Mike 1 under pressure from Ormonde through to Braamfontein. That is busier than it has been for the last few weeks as the schools reopen for term 3 today. Durban just starting to build up the N2 both ways into Spaghetti Junction, and Cape Town major backlog of traffic coming out of Mitchell's Bay. The M7 standing from Morgansteer all the way up into some roadworks at Samora Michelle. It is a problem getting out of Mitchell's Bay, not only on the M7 but those feeding roads into it like Highlands, like Morgansteer, like the R300. All of those routes jammed just to try and get into that M7, and no traffic lights. Stellenbosch Arterial at the R300, so delays in from Kales River. And load recovery out in Mpumalanga this morning, western side of Mbombela between Sadwala and Montrose. Heavy backlogs along the N4 into that scene. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndauling for the first update of the morning. So, Ndauling, let's start with these developments around the trade war. Trade wars all around, really, but let's focus for this hour at least on what the EU is mulling in response to the threats of higher tariffs by the Trump administration.
Morning, Tula. So according to reports, the EU is looking at escalating its retaliation plans against the US. This as the trade agreement prospects dwindle, with President Trump threatening to impose a 30% tariff on EU exports by the 1st of August. Now, the EU had initially hoped for a deal that would maintain a 10% US tariff on most exports with some concessions, but Trump's escalating threats have dashed these hopes. EU Trade Commissioner Marko Sefcovic's recent talks with US officials in Washington yielded no clear path forward, with US counterparts presenting conflicting proposals. And so the EU is considering using its anti-coercion instrument, which would allow the bloc to retaliate against countries attempting to economically pressure its members. The ACI could enable the EU to limit US companies' access to public procurement contracts and financial services markets, or restrict US investment. This move is supported by EU members including Germany and France, and to invoke the ACI, the European Commission would need a majority of 15 countries representing 65% of the EU population. Now, some member states say this wouldn't be necessary, with the European Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen still seeing some light at the end of the tunnel and saying a deal could still be sealed before that deadline.
Yeah, what's that they say about an eye for an eye making everyone blind? This is a trade war that absolutely no one needs. Anyway, let's move on. Tell me about Stellantis slipping into the red. Who is Stellantis?
So Stellantis is a European car maker, and just another example about how no one wins in the trade war. They own brands like Fiat and Jeep, and they've reported a preliminary loss of 2.3 billion euros for the first half of the year. This loss is largely attributed to the impact of Trump's tariffs on imports of vehicles and parts, which have cost the company 300 million euros so far. Now, the tariffs have forced Stellantis to reduce vehicle shipments and cut production to adjust manufacturing levels. Additionally, the company booked 3.3 billion euros in pre-tax charges for the first half, related to program cancellations, platform impairments, and restructuring costs, including the cancellation of a hydrogen fuel cell project. Now, the automaker's North American sales plunged 25% in the second quarter as those tariffs bite. Despite the loss, analysts note that the company's results were anticipated to be poor, and the early stages of actions taken to improve performance and profitability are expected to yield larger benefits in the second half of the year. But analysts, of course, still wary of the impact the tariffs could have going into the second half of the year.
Lastly, Dowling, for this hour, give us an update of how the markets are looking.
Reflecting on the close, stocks in the US hit record highs as optimism around earnings overshadowed fears over the latest developments in trade. The tech-heavy Nasdaq leading the gains in the US, up close to 0.4% in yesterday's session. And talking about record highs, the all share closer to breaking past the 100,000 point mark, closing at an all-time high yesterday, over 99,000 points, reflecting an increase of 0.98%, and this was boosted by the resources, up 4.8% in yesterday's close. The upbeat momentum also filtering through to the currency markets this morning, with the rand shaking off global concerns at 17.67 to the dollar. Lastly, in Asia, stocks not as positive, with trade mixed, with investors on that front keeping an eye on political developments in Japan.
Dowling, thank you. We'll catch up with you in the second hour of the show. More insights from Dowling coming up just after 7:30 here on the Morning Brief.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, let's say good morning to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start in Senegal. It seems there are tensions within the governing coalition, and they seem to suggest that there's a need for what we are planning here in South Africa, some kind of a dialogue.
Refreshing morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa, to the listeners. Thulas, indeed, I mean, those two characters, when you talk about the leadership or the presidency and the prime minister's office, Ousmane Sonko and Diomaye Faye, there is a tension, Thulas, that has erupted, you can say, 10 days ago when Ousmane Sonko stressed the issue that there's a lack of authority in the management of public affairs. Now, here he has raised the issue of assessing executive power and the current governance. Hence, others are calling that there's a need for this authority and the social cohesion between the two leaders in terms of dealing with the challenges of governance. But when you look at the tensions to us also, it is the issue that surrounds what the population or the citizens are saying between the two leaders. And you will remember that for Faye to be the president, it was through Ousmane Sonko's influence during the time when they were having confrontations with the then President Macky Sall in Senegal. So there is tension, and as you have said, it's the same script to us, the same template, that whenever you have tensions, people will always call for the national dialogue or for the national engagement.
And then in Kenya, Sipho, the activist Boniface Mwangi has appeared in court and he remains defiant.
Thulas, he remains defiant, denying all those charges, and this comes from his lawyers also, alluding that there is no case here. It is politically motivated by the state by saying that he has influenced the Gen Z. Remember, this is the youth of that erupted last year in June and August. And now they are calling for next month that Nane Nane will be the next protest. This is a 1 year of Nane Nane protest that was done last year, and this was inspired by the Saba Saba protest of 1990 in Kenya. So Boniface is denying all those charges to us when he was brought before the courts yesterday in Kenya. And this shows the issues that have been simmering in that country for some time, if you look at how William Ruto has dealt with the human rights activists and the youth of Kenya.
And I smiled a bit when I saw your next story, Sipho, out of Botswana, that the likes of Julius Malema were once persona non grata in Botswana under the previous administration. You never would have imagined a situation where a governing party in Botswana invites the EFF and the ANC and says, come, let's have a conversation.
No, correctly. But remember that Duma Boko asked them to say that they must work together because he had a conference over the weekend. Now, in this weekend, Duma Boko invited the ANC and the EFF, and the EFF sent their international relations and the deputy president Godric Gadi to attend. And then the issues that they have to raise is the tensions between the ANC and the EFF, and as you have said that this is a precursor for what is coming in the few days to last of the Liberation Summit that will be held in South Africa, and that's where the ANC is leading that, and others are saying BDP, BNF of Duma Boko might attend that summit. But this was an important meeting to us if one looks how the ANC and the EFF have been pushed to work together even post-2024 elections. But coming from the neighbor, Gaborone, these are the historical news that we see from the SADC region in terms of the coalition governments and the working relations of liberation movements.
And then lastly, Sipho, in your historical archives, you are taking us back to the 22nd of July, 1987. What happened related to the then United Democratic Front?
Tulas, you will recall that there were activists who were active during the UDF days, and those names will come from your Mafimo Roberts, your Vali Musas. And on this day in Gqeberha, they were arrested. But this arrest was also spearheaded by the interference of the then apartheid intelligence. One lady like Vanessa is the one who spoke about their whereabouts where they were, because they were on the run for a year, 2 years almost, and they were protesting also about what happened 40 years ago, if you remember the state of emergency of 1985, and they were very vocal, both of them, as Vali Musa was the then Secretary General of UDF and Mafimo Robe as the deputy. So these are the two figures who were pushing, and they were arrested in Gqeberha in PE on this day. It's almost in 1987, Tulas, looking at 2025, and they are both still active in the national discourse in this country. Asante sana Tulas, as facilitating the conversation, SAFM observing the International Mandela Month.
Raz Sipho Mantula, thank you for that. That's Sipho there with your Africa update for this morning.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
Mzansi, for as little as 5 rand, you can play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot this Tuesday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 84 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating multi-millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
7:15 on this Tuesday. So for quite some time now, anecdotally, I've had the feeling that the country's outdoor advertising industry is in the middle of something of a boom. You see it everywhere, really, with massive LED screen billboards on the highways and gigantic static billboards erected on properties adjacent to busy roads, all vying for the consumer's eye. But it seems a part of that growth has been premised on unlawfulness. The outdoor advertising industry is facing mounting scrutiny after revelations that none of the billboards along the R21 freeway are legally installed. An investigation by Daily Maverick has exposed a pattern of widespread non-compliance. lost public revenue and growing safety concerns, all amid intimidation of officials and government inaction. So let's speak to Nomadlozi Nkosi, who is the MMC for Development Planning and Real Estate in the city of Ekurhuleni. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So credit, of course, goes to the Daily Maverick team and the work that they have done. What is the position as far as the city is concerned? Is it the same as as Sanral, as quoted in Daily Maverick, that none of the billboards on the R21 have been constructed legally?
Good morning. Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners. Firstly, I want to state this, that the city would have embarked on an audit around all billboards around the city of Ekurhuleni. And I think if Daily Maverick would have done that work, they would have all seen that after the city would have done that audit. But allegedly around the R21 billboards, we have 28 approvals for advertising sign visible from the R21. Which is, we also have, there's 33 refusals. Now, one thing that ourselves as a city want to explain is that many of the signs that are on the Sanral own land, which falls under, they all fall under the national jurisdiction, but the city also cannot grant legal rights to erect signage on Sanral land without the Sanral written consent. So there are roads, there are national roads, there are national lands, there's also provincial and the cities. So now the coordination between ourselves as the city and Sanral is improving. But historically there were gaps in oversight, which is very evident to what the Daily Maverick is saying.
So MMC, what is the underlying message then that you are communicating? That it's not all that are illegal, some are illegal. What's the extent of the problem then?
Okay. Currently, the action steps that we are doing as the city, we are working hand in hand with Sanral to audit all signs around R21 corridor, but also where we find illegal structures that are identified, there's going to be an enforcement action which will be pursued, including the possible removal of those structures. So on our side as the city, we are reviewing the internal approval database and also cross-checking with Sanral for the consistency.
But you clearly have a problem, MMC, don't you? The fact that you went on a campaign pasting on some of those billboards that they are illegal suggests that you also recognize that there's clearly a big problem here.
Yes, there is a big problem when it comes to outdoor advertising. That is why as the city we embarked on the citywide audit to identify those illegal structures. But also we had to come up with this campaign where we made sure that we put stickers on the illegal billboards or advertising outdoor structures, so that we call upon on all those that would have illegally put in those structures in our city's land to come forward, because we're going to give them a chance to come forward. If they don't listen, we just remove all those illegal boards.
Lastly, MMC, among some of what has been written up by Daily Maverick are the tactics that include intimidation of officials and in a manner that, you know, they liken to mafia style. What's your experience with your officials as far as that is concerned, and the subsequent loss of revenue to the city of Ekurhuleni?
Yes, I think on that side, Daily Maverick is correct. Because when other people find themselves on the wrong, they don't want to acknowledge their wrongness. And indeed, it is true that sometimes our officials find themselves in a space where they can't they are intimidated. but also we share concern about this structural integrity and also the road user safety. It is indeed that they are being intimidated. For an example, last week we went on the side of Edenvale, where we would have put in some stickers. But in the afternoon, we went down there to check on those stickers. We find one of the billboards being a sticker, they tried to remove that sticker. So it tells you that our communities and those that call themselves investors at the outdoor advertising sector, they think they'll do as they please. And in the city of Ekurhuleni, we won't be able to allow lawlessness. A city is losing a lot of revenue, and we need to make sure that we deal with the wrongness, and but also put into place and make sure that those things that they are superior, than the seats are brought into book.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you. That is the MMC for Development Planning and Real Estate in the city of Ekurhuleni, Nomadlozi Nkosi.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning. It's very heavy traffic across the nation as we go back to school today. It is her third term opening and very heavy just in terms of volumes. Also some collision scenes. A big one in Pretoria. It's on the N4. This is the Rustenburg Highway, if you like. It's between Rosslyn and Bonaccord, both ways under pressure to and from Durham Port Plaza. Also an earlier crash on the M1 South just past Rigel Avenue, causing some delays as you line up coming in from the Atterbury Road side. Joburg's Mike 1, heavier than it has been for the last few weeks, on Monday through towards the around about Oxford Road, and New Canada, or Canada Road through New Canada between Soweto and Main Reef Road remains closed. Protesting erupting there earlier this morning. Durban, the M7 heading into Pinetown, pretty heavy, going to sit in traffic from Hunstedman all the way up to the N3, and then more traffic pressure into Pinetown over that St John's Avenue Bridge area. Komashu Highway from Malandela down through Duffs Road on towards the N2, that's quite heavy. A lot of traffic this morning coming out of Vermont. Some Toti on your way up. There is a crash, central Toti area on the N2, but then Tweeny Hill up into Prospect, and it gets really heavy. Cape Town side, N2 inbound, literally standing from the airport through to Mowbray Main Road. The N1's full of traffic between Belleville and Sable Road, and there's some big traffic out of Mitchell's Plain. Looks like an overrun on the roadworks, perhaps around Samora Michelle. The M7 heavy both ways, but particularly bad going outbound, and that's causing delays trying to get in on routes like Morgansteer, Highlands Drive, and the R300. If you go the other way, R300 up to the N2, it might be a better option this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A humongous rivalry in African women's football is back on the battlefield. The Super Falcons are highly confident they will keep their hopes of the 10th title alive. However, Banyana have a mammoth task to silence the green and white. This is the semi-final contest of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. 9-time African champions Nigeria versus reigning champions South Africa this Tuesday 22 July at 5:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC 3 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
So let's stick with the theme of local governance and turn to this issue that was a burning issue in the last few days. Residents of the city of Ekurhuleni, including those in Tembisa who had taken to the streets in protest over the past 2 days, can heave a sigh of relief. A controversial citywide flat electricity tariff of 126 Rand will not kick in, at least not for now. Mayor of Ekurhuleni, Nkosindiphile Xhakaza, announcing a temporary suspension of the surcharge, which threatened to push electricity beyond the means of many ordinary citizens in the metro. The mayor, Nkosindiphile Xhakaza, joins me now on the line to talk about it a bit more. Mayor, good morning and thank you for your time. Just explain what the rationale was of a flat 126 Rand electricity tariff in circumstances where we're already being hit by a 12.74% tariff that was, approved by NERSA for Eskom and kicking in at the beginning of July for municipal customers.
No, thank you very much and greetings to Thulasizwe and to your listeners. I must have a bit of a background that every year the city of Ekurhuleni reviews its tariff as required by NERSA. But in addition, we also do conduct a cost of supply study just to ensure that tariffs are fair and they reflect the true cost of supplying electricity. And there has then been a recent review that led to some of the changes in the structure. And I must say that in contention, it's not the overall tariff increases, but it is the fixed rate or fixed charge that in terms of the tariff structure has also been appropriated to a tariff block that caters for the indigents who are cautioned, but there's also other low cost or lower consumption customers who might not necessarily be an indigent, but are still below the margin.
Yes.
And these changes, we did say they are not all for our making, but were also guided because there is a requirement that we must fund also the infrastructure to keep the electricity flowing. We do need to build up substations, we do need to build with cable, the transformers and all that, including its maintenance. It's a cost that we must also recover. And in this case, we have to recover them from communities. However, it appears that we need to do some further consultation. With the communities, in particular, if this tariff structure is gonna also be affecting, the most poor. And the marginalized.
In a way, Mayor, from what you are saying, it appears to me, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, it appears to have not been thought through really well. The fact that you are suspending it, at least temporarily, and going back to the drawing boards, suggests that it wasn't thought through properly, in that it was going to be a blunt instrument, by your own admission, taking in its dragnet consumers, including those who are in lower income households and low use households. So what do you say to the suggestion that this wasn't thought through?
Well, I mean, we take budget suggestions, including the related tariff increases and policies to communities for consultation. I mean, we've been to all the 20 customer care areas that are covering Ekurhuleni, our townships and the suburbia. Of course, tariff increases are often met with a bit of, pushback. Nobody voluntarily says, I'm available for this increase. And would have gone to Tembisa, and we must qualify Tembisa as one of the high-paying townships for all our package of our services, and that is why they're the first often to come out. So we have to take them through. We went there, we did take them through, but of course, there is still and we're worried about the destruction of the infrastructure, the loss of lives. We would have been there at some point. And 3 years ago, and the nation was uproar about how its government we actually responded to those situations. And I think primarily, is to allow that, but also to allow this conversation so that we take through the message. We also say, what type of packages do we have to cushion the poor? Because there's been various interventions, and some of this intervention, it appears as well, they're not properly communicated. whether it's an indigent package, which we've increased, whether it's some of the debt write-off. Because when you have a conversation around an increase, it must be a conversation in totality to say, what happens to those who can't pay? How do we caution you and all that?
All right. Because of time, I have to leave it there. Thank you for your time this morning. That is Nkosindipile Xhagaza, the mayor of the city of Ekurhuleni. Let's go straight to a news update now.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
Top stories. This hour, Gauteng prosecuting head suspended and breakthrough in DJ Sumbody murder case. Good morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended South Gauteng NPA head Advocate Andrew Chauke pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. Ramaphosa says Chauke's continued tenure as Director of Public Prosecutions, while facing serious accusations, would negatively affect the reputation of the NPA as a whole. Presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya.
Having asked Advocate Chauke to provide reasons why he should not be suspended, President Ramaphosa has decided suspension is the correct course of action pending an inquiry. President Ramaphosa informed Advocate Chauke of his decision in writing and indicated that the President and the public will benefit from an independent assessment of issues that require elucidation and on which there are disputes of fact.
The MK Party's Mnqobi Msezane, who serves on the Higher Education and Training Portfolio Committee, says the party also welcomes the removal of Nobuhle Nkabane as the minister of this portfolio. The DA and Rise Mzansi have also welcomed the move. Msezane says her removal is long overdue and the party has been calling for a capable minister in the sector. Msezane says the lives of many students rely on the department.
Now Minister Phuthi Manamela was also part of the ministry under the leadership of Dr. Nkabane as a deputy minister. So we can only hope that because he has had time in the sector that he will do better and that he will account as he should to the portfolio committee and parliament and to the young people and people of South Africa in general. So on behalf of the Umkhonto Party, I just want to express the fact that we welcome the removal as it was long overdue and will continue to enforce accountability.
The bail application of Tiffany Meek, who is accused of killing her son Jaden Lee Meek, will continue in the Roodepoort Magistrates Court, west of Johannesburg, today. The investigating officer has presented a detailed account of the evidence collected by police. The officer, who wishes not to be named, confirmed observing blood on Jaden Lee's pillow during an inspection of Meek's house. He also testified that Jaden Lee's body was found on a stairwell of the complex with wounds to the neck and head as well as visible bruising. The state is opposing bail, arguing that releasing Meek would not serve the interests of justice. 4 suspects have been arrested in connection with the murder of popular DJ Oupa John Sefoka, popularly known as DJ Sumbody. The arrests were made by the SAPS Political Killings Task Team, working closely with the Gauteng Organised Crime Detectives. Sefoka was killed in a hail of bullets in November 2022. National Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate.
Gauteng Organised Crime Detectives worked on the case and later roped in the SAPS Political Killings Task Team to assist. The arrests were all effected in Gauteng on Monday afternoon, and 3 of the suspects are believed to be hitmen, and 1 is believed to have ordered the hit on the DJ. The weapon that was used in the commission of the crime is in police custody and has since been linked to other murders. All 4 suspects are in police custody.
And finally, FlySafair says it had to cancel 26 flights, which account to 13% of its operations, amid the wage strike by their pilots, which started yesterday. FlySafair pilots have rejected the airline's 5.7% wage increase offer, sticking to their demand for a 10.5% hike. FlySafair insists that it has been negotiating in good faith under the process led by the CCMA. Chief Marketing Officer at FlySafair, Kirby Gordon.
We remain very open to the process and we continue to negotiate in good faith, but I think to expand upon the 5.7% offer, 5.7% is on the base pay. The offer also includes a number of other remunerative structures, including bonuses and flight pay. The actual cost to company increase is 11.29%. And I reiterate, in an economy with low inflation, where banks and other significant employers are offering 4% to most employees, when you already earn a competitive salary, an 11.29% increase is unheard of in this current economy.
The top story this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended South Gauteng NPA head, Advocate Andrew Chauke, pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. Headlines at 7:30 for SAFM News. I'm Kulofelo Tefo.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
If you want to save on your car insurance premium, you call Outsurance, right? But what if you don't save? Well, they'll give you cash just for trying. You heard right. Just ask for 500 Rand cash. But wait, there's more. If you don't save and have been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years, you can ask them for 1,500 Rand cash. Savings or cash, you always get something out.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, soccer action. We're building up to Banyana taking on Nigeria. It is the Women's Africa Cup of Nations semi-final. Coach Desiree Ellis says the squad is cool and focused. And we also bring you cricket action. The Proteas taking on New Zealand. It's the Tri-Series, T20 Tri-Series taking place in Zimbabwe. All the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Top stories, very heavy backlogs on Pretoria's N4 between Bonaccord and Rosslyn, both directions. A major crash this morning, multiple vehicles involved. You're trying to get to or from Durham-Paul Plaza. It is a heavy backlog. If you can avoid it, do so. Also, a breakdown just past Garsfontein Road, heading down to Rigel, so the M1 South remains very slow going. Joburg side this morning, not as bad as you think it might be. The highways are moving without any major incident. The Mike 1, though, is heavy from Boysons all the way through to Oxford Road in the Parktown area. A lot of traffic coming out of Durban South Coast to Monsam Toti through the Prospect and the N2 really under pressure. M7 into Pinetown, queues from Hans Detman up over St John's Avenue Bridge territory. Pietermaritzburg, Ashburton, not too bad at this stage. Cape Town, we're back to traffic on the M3. It hasn't been there for 3 weeks, but it is this morning. Constantia up to Bishop's Court towards Paradise Road, very heavy. A crash involving a truck on Van Riebeek Road, right in the heart of Kales River at Annandale Road. That's causing delays. And no traffic lights on Stellenbosch Arterial at the R300. That's heavy coming out of Kales River towards Delft. And big traffic out of Mitchell's Plain and into Mitchell's Plain. The M7, both ways heavy at Samora Michelle. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Tuesday, let me quickly run you through what we'll be covering, especially in this half hour in which we are trying to cram in as much as possible. The big story, of course, is the removal of former Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, and her replacement by Buti Manamela. We'll have the reactions of the Democratic Alliance, as well as hear from the chairperson of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, Tebogo Letsie. So those conversations coming up back to back. And immediately after that, we'll switch focus. We want to bring you the story of a judgment out of the Western Cape Division of the High Court, which will see Eskom paying a French nuclear contractor some 1 billion rand, in fact, more than 1 billion rand. 1 billion rand for breach of contract that has to do with the maintenance of the Koeberg nuclear power facility. So those are the three conversations dominating in this half hour. Let's get the second hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
They both have a rich history of glory. Amakhosi tackle the Porcupine Warriors.
This is as good as it gets.
This is the Toyota Cup.
The game you've been looking forward to on your football calendar.
Giants refuse to fall.
The big game.
The big game. On Saturday, 26 July at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus across the entire African continent and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport in proud partnership with Kaizer Chiefs Football Club.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has finally wielded his axe, and it fell where it may, ending Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane's miserable and scandal-prone year-long tenure as Minister of Higher Education and Training. While the president has cited no reasons for Nkabane's axing, her disdain for accountability through Parliament had clearly become untenable. Just last week, as I was saying earlier on, she snubbed the Portfolio Committee exercising oversight over her department, opting instead to attend an event at a TVET college in the Eastern Cape, leaving her two deputies red-faced as they faced questions from MPs that they simply could not answer. Well, one of those deputies is now set to take over the position from which she's been removed. That is Buti Manamela, who's been appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa as minister, and Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube as one of Manamela's two deputies. Let's start the conversation with Karabo Khachau, who is DA MP and also the national spokesperson of the party. Good morning to you, Karabo, and thank you for your time. Many looking at this situation would say it was inevitable, but is it adequate by way of consequence management?
It was long overdue. It was imminent for the president to get rid of Nobuhle Nkabane, because the people of this country have always deserved more than Nobuhle Nkabane as a minister. Whether it is adequate, we still, as the Democratic Alliance, maintain that our call to rescue South Africa in rooting out corruption does not end with Nobuhle Nkabane. Nobuhle Nkabane is one step in the right direction, but she's not the ultimate step in the right direction. Because we still have people like Thulasizwe Simelane in cabinet. We have people like David Mashobo as the deputy minister. We have Kumbuzo Ntshavheni sitting in the presidency. And we still have the unresolved question mark around Senzo Mchunu. So for as long as the people of this country lack faith in the cabinet's composition as far as the quality of ministers are concerned, ministers and deputy ministers are concerned, for as long as the ANC hasn't detoxed itself from corrupt and compromised ministers, the Democratic Alliance will never be satisfied, and I'm sure the people of this country will not look in government and see themselves reflected in it.
What do you think moved the president into action? Because the president had asked her to provide reasons and give a report of her previous encounters with the committee in which you serve. It seems to me that much of her downfall was self-authored in the way and manner in which she interacted with your committee.
Look, I think there's many things that brought the president to backle here. One, certainly the pressure from the Democratic Alliance, but civil society itself, the people of the country had consistently made it clear that they did not want Nobuhle Nkabane. Students across universities, TVETs and CET colleges, across the CETA spaces, actually young people who are yet to realize the full mandate of CETA as far as skills development and giving young people an opportunity to put food on the table for themselves and their families, have also called for the axing of this minister. And as far as the DA's proposition here, as the second largest partner in the GNU, we had made it clear that we will certainly not support a budget of Nobuhle Nkabane. Higher education is far too an important department, and irrespective of which department whatsoever, we can't have billions of state money being given to the responsibility of the likes of Nobuhle. And for as long as she was at the helm, we wouldn't be able to support that budget.
So lastly then, Karabo, does this change anything at all in terms of your attitude towards the various pieces of legislation that need to pass through as the budget? As you rightly point out, you had said that you would not be supporting the budget vote of higher education and training for as long as Nobuhle Nkabane was in that position, and you kept true to that word. Does it change anything going forward with some of the bills that still need to serve before Parliament, including, if I'm not mistaken, the appropriations bill?
Yeah, so the leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen, made it clear. Now that Nobuhle Nkabane is off the chart, then obviously higher education is no longer a problem for us. But that doesn't mean we no longer have a problem with human settlements and Simelane, and that's something that the leader will be able to ventilate while moving forward. But our call here for the firing of Minister Nkabane is more than just getting rid of Nobuhle Nkabane for being a liar, for a person who committed fraud and a statutory offence under Section 27 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act 4 of 2004, which is why the Hawks are investigating and must be able to conclude on that case, because we want her, like Tony Yengeni, to face the full might and the music of the law. And we also still want ethics to conclude, as well as the public protector. But our call is beyond her. It is a clarion bigger call to cutting down corruption, ending the culture of patronage, and using government entities and departments as ANC paid cash cows altogether without realizing service delivery and the impact for people. So that is our call as the DA, and we're happy that this victory has been able to be received for the people of the country.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Karabo Khachau, who is a DA MP, also its national spokesperson. She also serves, of course, in the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, a committee chaired by Thulasizwe of the ANC, who joins me now for reaction from the committee. Good morning to you, Chairperson, and thank you for your time. It seems to me that the work of your committee was integral in insisting on accountability on the part of this minister, but I could tell that you were getting increasingly exasperated in those efforts. Are you relieved that she's been removed? Still it's here? No, that line is not good enough at all. Let's see if you can move around while we take a quick spot break, and then see if we can get you on a better line.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
When they walk on the pitch, both teams will believe they will triumph, but reality kicks in during 90 minutes of action. Who will dance to victory between UJ ladies and First Touch ladies? This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ Ladies versus First Touch Ladies on Sunday 27 July at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, let's try again with the chairperson of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, Thulasizwe. Good morning to you. I'm hoping that the line is better now. You were giving us your reaction. I was saying that your committee was central in insisting on accountability, but your exasperation with this now former minister was becoming palpable. Are you relieved that President Ramaphosa has removed Nobuhle Nkabane?
I hope you can hear me now, Thulasizwe.
It's much better, yes.
Thank you very much. Good morning to yourself. Good morning to the listeners of SAFM. Thanks for having us. I hope that the DA had nothing to do with my network earlier on. Thulasizwe, maybe let me start with that. It's laughable. Listening to Karabo Khachau, you're claiming victory. Are they claiming that all of a sudden, they've written to the President of the Republic of South Africa a long time ago. The President was unmoved by their threats of budget, threats of removing Andrew Whitfield, the threats of writing to him. And all of a sudden, now that the President has acted after applying his mind, after receiving all these kinds of reports, they want to claim it's because of their pressure that they put. It's very laughable to just listening to them there. They just like making political statements without really substantive issues. Going back to your question, I think Parliament, this is what Parliament must do. Parliament must hold, as per the Section 92, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, holds ministers individually and collectively to account. And this is what we have done. The minister would have came before the portfolio committee and indicated to us that they had a credible and independent panel that would have processed these things. And there was a point where she accused us of jumping or encroaching into her operational matters. But, we continued. We said, Minister, you may be our generation. Some of us may be coming from the same organization as you, but we will hold you accountable. And that is what we would have done.
So, there was a catalogue of, I don't know, let's call them infractions on the part of the minister, and they were quite blatant. It was clear for everyone to see. Which one for you was most, egregious for you as a committee? Was it the misleading of Parliament in terms of the independence of the committee, which in the end turned out not to be independent at all? Or was it, I don't know, you pick and choose. Which one of those behaviors would you like to flag such that the next minister does not repeat that kind of disdain for accountability to a committee such as yours?
So Parliament, South Africa is a constitutional democracy. So Parliament plays a critical role in making sure that this separation of powers we are able to hold each other accountable. So for me, what would have been bad would have been even the slightest insinuation that Parliament must not do its work. You remember that meeting of the 30th of August, 30th of May, where where we're even asking the minister about the simplest thing, because she would have felt the process was credible. And when we asked her, she referred us to Google. For us, that was big. It was not even about her answer there, but it was about the attitude she gave to an oversight board. Imagine if she were to do that, allowed to do that. What about the CEOs of these sectors, the vice chancellors of universities, principals of TVET colleges? So the sector was going to be ungovernable if we had allowed the minister to continue. For me, it is that. And the inconsistencies that will come from the ministry and the department. You ask one question at 3 different times, you get 3 different answers. It makes it very difficult for us.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Tebogo Letsie is chairperson of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Higher Education. An important point that the chairperson makes there is something to watch about the attitude towards Parliament that may or may not have been instilled in the bureaucracy. Because let's not forget, in some of those appearances before Parliament, there were performances there by members of the bureaucracy in that department that sort of gave a sense that, the tone is set from the ministry, and therefore we can all afford to then take a particular attitude towards Parliament.
You are listening to The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
Right, let's bring you this story now. Eskom has been ordered by the Western Cape Division of the High Court to pay more than 1 billion rand to French nuclear contractor Framatome following a botched steam generator replacement at the Koeberg nuclear power station. The court found Eskom liable for breaching its contract with Framatome during the failed 2022 attempt to replace steam generators at Koeberg Unit 2. Let's speak to Mohammed Mahdi, who is an energy analyst. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. 1 billion rand. That is huge. Is it a measure of the seriousness of the breach of contract? and its implications for the parties involved, but also for South Africans in the sense that there was meant to be a steam generator replacement that was going to mitigate against load shedding. But in the end, we ended up going as high as stage 6.
Yes, so good morning to yourself and good morning to the listeners. I think it is an unprecedented amount in terms of contractors being awarded a court order against Eskom. So it's an extremely high amount. It does indicate a lot to us as ordinary citizens in the country. Most of all, I think it talks to Eskom's handling of the matter, and in many ways their incompetence as well in terms of dealing with the issue. But it is a fairly complex issue, and I think the actual deliberations of the court I can't, of course, comment on. I haven't looked or studied it in detail. But typically these kinds of things are a measure of what the contractor would have lost or what they would have, the costs they would have incurred to this point. Now, I should also mention, people think of Kuberg and they think, so it's a nuclear power reactor and a nuclear power plant, and so it's going to be a complex operation. This had nothing to do with the real core of the nuclear power plant. It had to do with the steam generators. And that is a fairly straightforward, technical piece of equipment, and also fairly technical straightforward replacement. So it is, unfortunately, does show a lot about Eskom's capability at this point.
Yeah, in fact, say a bit more about that, because this was meant to take, some 5 months, refueling and steam generator replacement, but that it ended with this kind of a debacle. Is it emblematic of Eskom's ability to manage these maintenance operations, or was it, an aberration, a straying away from the norm?
I think it's difficult to make a conclusion not being involved in the details. And when I say not being involved, I mean the general public not being involved in the details. I think one has to just guard against jumping to conclusions about the general state of Eskom. This is a nuclear power plant, which is different from the other power plants. It is unusual that the steam generators were not able to be properly replaced. As I said, that's a fairly straightforward piece of equipment. As far as I know, the nuclear refueling did not experience the same level of problems as the steam generators, so that's actually a good thing. But in general, I think one can say that we have lost a fair amount of competence at Eskom. The energy landscape is changing quite dramatically. So a lot of the good talent is going to the new energy, to renewable energies, to those companies that are providing alternatives. And this is the fact. So you see, that people that are left, unfortunately, at Eskom are generally people who have not been able to find alternatives. I think at this point in time, Eskom is not the preferred place of employment for energy specialists.
All right, let's leave it there this morning. Thank you for your time and your insights. That's Mohammed Mahdi, who is an energy analyst.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
All right, good morning. It's game time for Banyana that face Nigeria with pride, as well as a World Cup spot on the line. And it's all happening 6 p.m. in Morocco. Coach Desiree Ellis says the team is ready, they're focused.
One day in between is not a lot, but you've done a lot of work beforehand. So you're just trying to touch up on certain things. I think it's just finalizing things, working on certain things that we need to brush up on. I think that is the most important thing. There's not a lot you can do that will change things. So it's getting the analysis right and obviously working on just brushing up on certain things, because it's effectively a startup and a match day -1, so you also got to take care of that as well.
On to rugby. The junior Springboks are welcome back to South Africa yesterday with cheering fans. South Africa's SA Under-20, well, they ended a 13-year drought to reclaim the global Under-20 crown with victory over the All Blacks. Here's the Junior Boks captain, Riley Norton.
So I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I've been given with both of them. But I definitely think, winning an under-20 championship for the first time in 13 years in a different country, it was really, really special. And like I said in that post-match interview, it was the greatest day of my life. So I'm so proud of the guys I had around me. We had support. Mr. David's coming in. He doesn't have to do that sort of stuff and staying with us in Italy. And all the people back home, it just meant the world to us to try and put a smile on their face and come back with this trophy, which we did. So I'm really honoured and proud of the boys around me.
Cricket, the Proteas batter Coben Bosch has reiterated the team's aim for more ruthlessness in their approach to the final match of the T20 Tri-Series against New Zealand today. They faced the Black Caps for the second time, having lost the same team last week. Now, Bosch admitted that the World Test Championship last month instilled a new sense of belief in the team.
I think it's that quiet belief amongst the players that we can get it done. As you said, the WTC showed that we are a world-class outfit. We can beat anyone in the world, and I think that's slowly starting to filter into all avenues of our cricket. And I think it's an exciting time for cricket in the country. And as I said, there's so much more talent that's left to be explored in our country itself. So it's an exciting time to be a part of SA cricket at the moment.
And finally, cycling. Tadej Pogačar says he's ready to fight every kilometre with his arch-rival Jonas Vingegaard in his bid for a fourth Tour de France title.
I'm pretty sure that Jonas can be confident as well because he's in really good shape. Like we saw the last, TT and the day after in Super Banieres, he was really flying. So yeah, I need to keep focused. I need to keep eating well, sleeping well, and keep this mood that we have in this group. Keep up the motivation and be confident for the last week.
We'll pedal back top of the hour. For the morning brief, I'm Zai Khan.
Thank you, Zai. Good morning. In the headlines this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended South Gauteng NPA head, Advocate Andrew Chauke, pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. The Democratic Alliance has welcomed the removal of Higher Education Minister Nobuhle Nkabane, and the Department of International Relations says the owners of BT Football Academy in Cape Town must be held accountable after a group of Cape Town youth taking part in a football tournament in Spain were left stranded overseas. Details at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A couple of really heavy delays this morning. First up, Mpumalanga. The N4 has been reopened just west of Nelspruit between Shagan and the Montrose interchange, or split if you like. But there's recovery of this lost load of cement that continues. So the road is open. There is some traffic flow, but it is an enormous backlog, particularly the truck traffic on that section of roadway. So our advice to be sit tight. If you need to go between Machadodorp and Bombella, do it a little bit later once that scene's being cleared and the big backlogs got through. The other hold up on the N4 is the Bekwena Highway section. This is going between effectively the Mopani Highway and Duranport Plaza. Just avoid travel on that section between Rosslyn Road and Bonaccord. There's been a major side tipper truck crash, multiple vehicles involved. It's very heavy, and the diversion away from that's putting extra pressure through Pretoria North as well. So it's all heavily backed up in that area. Videos of both of those scenes up on Twitter at Traffic. It's worth having a look, particularly at the Mbombela situation, and just get an appreciation of how high the volumes are on that section of the N4 this time of morning. Pretoria, the N1 going south, a crash before Rigel. They've had all sorts of incidents there this morning. Latest is the crash in. Big backlogs through to the N4, Emlatheni Highway split. That's heavy. Crash on Joburg's N3 north before Linksfield, so backlogging traffic getting up through Galuli's interchange this morning. Durban to Peterborough, so a little bit of traffic just between Ashburton and Market Road. Nothing too desperate, not as bad as it can be. A stationary truck at Kloof Falls, on the Kloof Falls Road at Kloof Gorge. You can imagine what that is doing. That's causing a really big delay, particularly from the waterfall side. It's a Superlink truck that's stuck unbelievably on Kloof Gorge. And then Cape Town today, pretty busy on the highways. The M1 inbound from Plattekloof, the N2 from around about Robert Sobukwe, and Baden-Powell's got a lot of traffic, just slow into the Muizenberg area, coming through from Strandfontein. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Here for that is Ndauleng Lechela with the second update of the morning. Ndauleng, let's start with Jubilee Metals. Tell me about their South African operations delivering upbeat production.
So the miners' SA operations are performing well, with chrome concentrate production increasing by close to 20% in the fourth quarter of its financial year to 578 tons, driving the full year output to 1.93 million tons, a 24.8% increase that exceeded its revised guidance. PGM production in the meantime for the fourth quarter also rose, up 14.6% to 8,973 ounces, while full year production reached 38,579 ounces, a 6% increase that met its revised guidance. CEO Leon Kutzer attributed the strong results to the company's expertise in managing the interdependence of chrome and PGM operations, coupled with the team's dedication. Now, when it comes to the uncontrollable, that being commodity prices, Jubilee noted chrome prices depreciated by 11.4% since May. Platinum prices appreciated by nearly 33% over the same period, offsetting the impact of declining chrome prices. Despite the upbeat performance, though, Jubilee is still moving forward with its plans to dump these assets. The company is finalizing the sale of its South African chrome and PGM operations for up to 1.6 billion rands, and this decision aligns with its strategy to focus on copper projects in Zambia.
So it seems everyone is doing well unless you are in nickel mining. Is it nickel that we were talking about yesterday?
Nickel.
So you'll be fine as long as you're not mining nickel. Tell me
gold,
about... Yeah? Say that.
I was like, gold PGMs seem to be doing well, but hey, nickel, no go area at the moment.
You want to get out of there as fast as you can. Tell me about Asura. Is it Asura or Ashura posting a rise in annual earnings?
It's Ashura, Thulas, and it's a UK-based and JSE-listed healthcare property company. They've delivered a 9% increase in annual underlying earnings to £111.8 million. This growth is due to heightened activity in the private healthcare sector, where Ashura acquired new assets, strengthening its relationships with private hospital providers. The group's CEO, Jonathan Murphy, noted that prospects for the independent healthcare market remain strong in the UK, with the company already discussing future developments and sustainability improvements with tenants. Now, earnings aside, Ashura has also agreed to a takeover by Primary Health Properties in a deal valued at close to £1.8 billion. Following PHP's revised offer, Ashura's board recommended the deal to shareholders, who have given it the green light. Now, that merger is expected to be completed early in the fourth quarter of the year and will result in Ashura delisting.
Lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
Kicking things off in Asia, trade is mixed. Now, all eyes are on Japan as the ruling coalition lost control of the upper house in an election on Sunday, further weakening Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's grip on power, even as he vowed to remain party leader. And that's sending the Nikkei into the red this morning. It's down 0.4%. Meanwhile, in the US, investors remain optimistic, shrugging off tariff concerns for now as they await tech earnings. There's numbers out from Alphabet and Tesla later this week. And ahead of those reports, looking at the futures, trade seems to be choppy, mixed, and reversing some of yesterday's gains. Then coming back home, sentiment remains positive as the JSE nears another record high. The all share closed up close to 1% in the green. The rand also stronger this morning. It's at 17.67 to the dollar.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. We'll catch up with you in the last hour of the show, in which update, of course, Dowling will give you a sense of the kind of trading day you can expect in the markets on this Tuesday.
The Atlas Lionesses want to capitalize on home ground advantage and secure tickets to the final. But the Black Queens want to be remembered for spoiling the party for the host nation. This is the semi-final contest of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Catch the big clash between the North and the West. Morocco versus Ghana. This Tuesday, 22 July at 8:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC 3 at 9 p.m. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the Soundtrack of Your Life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, as you can imagine, the conversation around the firing of the former Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, is really raging, and a lot of you calling in to try and reflect on that, as well as the state of the government of national unity. Let me take 2 voice notes and then go straight to the calls.
Good morning, Thulas. You're speaking to Anonymous in Durban. I think that GNU is the best thing to ever happen to South Africa, because this is the first time where we are hearing even the chairperson of the committee that belongs to the ANC criticizing an ANC minister. This is such a win for South Africa and South Africans at large. Thank you, Anonymous in Durban.
Good morning, Thulas. Is this not the same guy that was protecting the minister when the guy from EFF wanted answers? I think his name is Sitle something. Is this not the same person who was protecting the very same minister?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. One thing to be said about that committee, it's bipartisan. That's the expression they use in the United States. There's been a great deal of, shared concerns. I mean, members of the ANC who are members of that committee have also been quite vocal in their criticism of the now former minister, Nobuhle Nkabane. There's a member there, I think it's Khabo, his surname is. I remember just the kind of offense that he took when the officials were, emboldened by seeing their minister misbehaving. Officials in the department who are meant to be administrators, not involved in politics in any way, they were also getting, quite a bit, let's call it what it is, cocky in their approach and attitude towards the MPs. Khabo, his surname is, I can't remember his first name, member of that committee, really took exception. He's a member of the ANC. So there's been that bipartisan approach that says behavior that is unacceptable is totally unacceptable. But you are absolutely right. There was that incident with Sihle Lonzi of the EFF. On that day, it seems the agreement was one that, this issue would be dealt with at a later stage, but Mr. Lonzi insisting that it be dealt with there and then. All of that cumulatively, whatever differences they may have in approach and tone and demeanor, in the end, you've got to give credit to this committee in the manner in which they've insisted that this minister will not get away with not accounting to Parliament. All the parties involved unanimous, in unison about that particular issue. In fact, speaking of that, let me take a call from Kirk in Cape Town. Good morning to you, Kirk.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. The ANC is unable to police itself. Mm-hmm. I fully agree with the anonymous caller from KZN who mentioned that the advent of the GNU means that the heat is certainly ratcheted up within the corridors of Parliament and in those committees. What is disappointing, though, is that the President has not stated the reasons for the firing. I know he's not obliged to do so.
Sure.
He can hire and fire as he sees fit. But when the DA deputy minister was fired, he found it suitable to declare the reasons. Yet when he fires a minister, and after all this controversy, he's still trying to maintain a manner of decorum within the ANC, which we all know is totally lacking. They are unable to police themselves.
But remember, Kirk, when he fired Andrew Whitfield, he didn't give reasons. He then came back to give reasons after the DA had reacted in the way that it did. And he said, in light of this reaction, I think I should now put the reasons on record. They generally don't, these presidents don't like to give reasons for firing ministers.
I agree to Thulasizwe that but in this instance, after weeks
yes,
and months almost of this controversy raging, he has not, he doesn't feel the need to explain the situation. And I mean, everybody can see it for what it is. It's trying to cover up and trying to delay the processes as much as possible until he's forced into a corner, or they are forced into a corner, and then the announcements come.
Gotcha. Kirk, thank you for your call this morning. That's Kirk in Cape Town. Let me go to Ziki, also in Cape Town. Good morning to you, Ziki. You want to talk to me about this issue of Eskom and the court case that they lost?
Yes, good morning, Thulas. Good morning to the listeners. I'm going to be very brief. Thulas, we need, as South Africans, not to allow this Eskom debacle to slip through without going down into it.
Yeah.
You know, the former Chief Operations Officer, I think his name is Jan Oberholzer,
yes,
suspended the current power station manager. I think his name is Velapi. And suspended primarily, some of the reasons who are suspended, it was around, I think, competency issues to run a complicated nuclear power station. And someone saw it fit to bring him back. And now we are sitting with this mess as a country where we are going to have to pay R1 billion to this company.
Yeah.
And we cannot, Thulas, allow this matter to just die quietly.
I agree.
And Thulas, secondly, on the issue of project management in the country as a whole, you know, there's a tendency. These big projects are now being used to loot.
Yeah.
And I can state without fear of being contradicted that the only institution that we have in the country that can manage projects properly and deliver them on time within the budget is the Development Bank of South Africa. That's where you find experts in large in the management of large projects.
All right.
But we need to drill down into this matter, and if it means we must have an inquiry to understand what is the story around the R1 billion, the country must do that. But we also need to understand why the power station manager was put on suspension and who brought him back. Because my view is that this guy should have been fired.
All right. Ziki, let's leave it there. You've given us great pointers and the insistence that we need to get more answers on that particular story. And I think we owe it to you and to Eskom to invite them to come and explain what this is all about, this court case that they've lost in relation to this French contractor that had to do with the project around Koeberg in 2022. JCK in Musina, good morning. You want to talk about Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi?
Thulas, are you well?
Very well. How are you?
I'm well. Thulas, chickens are coming home to roost. You know what General Mkhwanazi, General Mkhwanazi, what has said? It's true. Look now, the prosecutor, head of prosecution in Gauteng is suspended.
Yes.
And then those people who killed the DJ
Sumbody, yes,
are arrested.
Yeah.
What do you think before we go into what do they call it? The inquiry. Many people would be arrested. And then look, I think even the family of Senzo Meilwa, the late, find closure soon. Because even if you can check the Senzo Meilwa trial, if people were doing the right thing, that thing should have been over. But because there are people there who are playing their dirty hands, that's why you see it is dragging and dragging. But now, because of Mkhwanazi has saved the South Africans. He didn't save the government, but he saved the South Africans because we are the ones who are in pain. Because if he has kept quiet, the government, that is what they enjoy. You know, they're not there for us. But Mkhwanazi is there for us.
All right.
Hey,
Hypothetical dance. Let me rest my case for
Hypothetical
now.
dance, says JCK in Musina. Let me go straight to Matsubani, because Matsubani, you're also along the same vein. Here you're laughing. Do you agree the hypothetical dance?
Yeah, he took my words, that man. But JCK took my words. You know, I'm just praying that this trial of these guys who killed DJ Sumbody doesn't drag like the one for Senzo. But I'm feeling people are going to go down. I'm telling you, Thulas, people are going to go down. That's my point. The second point is, Thulas, I just want to find out, man. The president went to the USA and came back. And when they came back, they said they've achieved what they went there for. Can we have one thing? Because I see now things are getting out of hand. Tariffs are being hiked. And I doubt if Trump will come here in November for the G20. Can we just have one thing that they achieved? Because the president said we achieved an objective that we went there for.
Well, for starters, Trump has not said anything about a white genocide in South Africa, a non-existent white genocide in South Africa since then. And I think I saw the other element was about speaking directly to investors in the United States. And I think, if I recall, I can't remember. I think it was Minister Hossein. No, it wasn't. Pakstow, I think it was. There was, video of him surrounded really by all these business people and those interactions. Would those not count as achievements? All right, I think we've lost Matsubani there. Let's take a traffic update and we'll be back with more in just a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Update on the N4, northern parts of Pretoria. The road is closed, at least going westbound. This is moving from Duranpoort Plaza across through towards Bonaccord. So motorists being shipped off at Bonaccord and then rerouted down through Pretoria North and Vanderboom. So there's some very heavy traffic on the N4 going into that scene, driving west. There's a big backlog coming eastbound from Rosslyn Road down towards the scene. And there's all sorts of crazy traffic through Pretoria North and the Vanderboom area. Routes like Lavender and Rosslyn Road, Mansfield Avenue, Paul Kruger, all very, very heavily backed up. As you can imagine, the highway traffic being shipped off on a reroute on the same day as schools go back to schools reopen. So there was already a heavy backlog through Pretoria North, but it's exacerbated now by all that traffic coming off the N4. If you need to go between the Mopani Highway and the N1 Highway via Duranpoort, use some alternative routes before you get in to that mess around the N4 and the local diversion. Staying in the capital, the N1 south down to Linwood Road is quite heavy. Queues from Stormville. N14 up to Brockfontein on your way to Pretoria. That's heavy again this morning. Joburg not as busy as I thought it would be. There's some congested routes, but it's all fairly normal. Durban, the N2, that's heavy this morning both ways towards Mgina Road going north and south towards Spaghetti Junction. M19, Reservoir Hill through to Springfield, that's really heavy, and a lot of traffic delaying on the M4. This is the Route First Highway around Virginia Airport to and from Mhlanga. N2, Toti 3 Prospect, and starting to ease up after a busy start this morning. Cape Town, back to school, so heavy backlogs. Newlands, Claremont, Rondebosch, as you can imagine, particularly Belmont Road, Racecourse Road, those sort of routes under pressure. M7 in and out of Mitchell's Plain via Samora. Michelle is standing both directions. R300 north queuing up towards Van Riebeeck Road. And if you're going from Paarl side into Stellenbosch, there's been a really big crash on the R44 just south of the Cromrie Road, and that's causing a big delay. R44 into Stellenbosch southbound, backlogging. That's the Clubmas Road, if you like. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
My name is Casey Gordon. I'm the Banyana goalkeeper. My favorite music is all over the place. I love listening to all kinds of things, but I'd have to say maybe pop culture. My favorite pet is my cat. I love cats. They're so cute. My cat's name is Bailey. My favorite dish is pizza. Obviously, it's not a great dish as an athlete, but I love pizza. When I'm not playing football, I love to be with my friends and my family, and I love playing netball as well.
brought to you by SABC Sport.
Big stories of the day. #The Morning Brief.
So let's continue with the theme of electricity and focus on affordability. The Energy Minister, Thulasizwe Simelane, warning that the country's rising electricity prices are becoming unsustainable and pushing millions into energy poverty, especially in poor and rural communities. His comments follow growing public anger over tariff increases, with residents of Tembisa recently staging disruptive protests in response to a new municipal charge and also linked into that the national tariff hikes that were approved recently by the National Energy Regulator, NERSA. Let's speak to Jose Muleshe, who is an energy expert. Good morning to you, Jose, and thank you for your time. The way that the minister has framed it, he basically says in many households, it's coming down to a choice between a loaf of bread or electricity units, and no prizes for guessing which one people would prioritize with limited resources. What's behind this affordability crisis that we seem to face around electricity?
Thank you for having me. Well, what is behind this is the fact that we as South Africa had challenges in terms of infrastructure financing or gaps in the past, and we subsequently addressed it, and we experienced load shedding, subsequently addressed that through investments in coal-fired power plants like Medupi, Kusile, and pump storage projects, various projects. The implication of investing in these projects mean that because the consumers pay for these projects through a tariff, the more we invest in projects, for instance, now we are supposed to be investing in infrastructure, transmission infrastructure, to enable the connection or integration of renewable energy projects. So the more we need infrastructure investment, the more consumers will have to pay for that. So that is why we are seeing costs going up, and they still will go up because of the requirements for infrastructure investment. Now, in terms of some households, indigent households, they are supposed to be benefiting from a government subsidy, which NERSA takes out of the tariff. But the implementation has been a challenge for many years, with some of the beneficiaries not being able to tap into that. So that is also now creating the crisis that we see, because there's supposed to be a differentiation between those who can pay and those who cannot afford. And yes, there is a crisis. With respect to that.
And in fact, you talk about the prices also still set to go up even in the coming years. For this year, because this was a multi-year determination of the tariff by NERSA, 12.74% this year, 5.36% 26-27 financial year, and 6.19% in 2027 to 2028. The argument has been what Eskom asks for is meant to be cost reflective, basically reflecting the cost of producing the electricity. But there's been a counter argument that says the costs don't necessarily need to be as high as they are right now for Eskom. It's simply a matter of their inefficiencies. Which one is it?
So in terms of the law, NERSA is supposed to evaluate Eskom's application to ensure that any inefficiencies are not reimbursed in terms of Eskom allocation. So the costs that are supposed to be given to Eskom are supposed to be prudently incurred, and NERSA has the responsibility to review that. And if they review it and Eskom does not agree, Eskom has the right to query that. So in terms of cost reflectivity, it means that it must reflect the cost that Eskom has incurred in the process of trying to generate electricity. That means operational costs, that means coal-fired power plants. So Eskom writes a whole lot of information through that multi-year price determination, proving that this is what we have incurred in terms of cost, and it's not wasteful. And according to the law, NERSA has an obligation to provide that unless they have a reason that shows that there's been inefficiencies.
Yeah, and many South Africans watching, for instance, this court case out of the Western Cape where Eskom has lost a case against this nuclear contractor from France and ordered to pay something in the region of over R1 billion. Many will say this is exactly the inefficiencies that we're talking about.
Well, if that pans out, that will be part of a determination at a specific stage. And NELSA is, by law, not supposed to grant anything that is based on wasteful expenditure by Eskom. So the jury's out on that.
All right. Thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That's Jose Muleshe, who is an energy expert. And let's go to Kolofelo Tefo now with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 0800 60,000 today.
Thank you, Thulasizwe. Top stories this hour: Gauteng prosecuting head suspended and DECO intervenes after footballers stranded in Spain. Good morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended South Gauteng NPA head Advocate Andrew Chauke pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. Ramaphosa says Chauke's continued tenure as Director of Public Prosecutions while facing serious accusations would negatively affect the reputation of the NPA as a whole. Presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya says the president is concerned that Advocate Chauke will not be able to fulfill his functions optimally while facing an inquiry.
Having asked Advocate Chauke to provide reasons why he should not be suspended, President Ramaphosa has decided suspension is the correct course of action pending an inquiry. President Ramaphosa informed Advocate Chauke of his decision in writing and indicated that the President and the public will benefit from an independent assessment of issues that require elucidation and on which there are disputes of fact.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Alliance has welcomed the removal of Higher Education Minister Nobuhle Nkabane. Ramaphosa has appointed Nkabane's deputy Budimana Mela as the minister and Nomusa Dube-Ncube as one of the deputies. The DA's Karabo Khahau has described Nkabane's departure from cabinet as a win for the country.
The Democratic Alliance has long maintained that we cannot have corrupt and compromised ministers in cabinet handling billions of South Africans' money. This is a win for ensuring that SETA spaces are safe spaces for young people, that their mandate is being followed correctly, that we don't have cadre deployment, but most importantly, that in future, we do not have ministers that can blatantly lie to Parliament and think that life will go on.
The 4 suspects arrested in connection with the fatal shooting of musician and businessman Oupa Sefoka, popularly known as DJ Sumbody, and his 2 bodyguards are expected to appear in the Alexandra Magistrates Court this morning. Sefoka was gunned down in a hail of bullets in Woodmead, north of Johannesburg in November 2022. The group was arrested yesterday afternoon. Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate.
3 of the suspects are believed to be hitmen and 1 is believed to have ordered the hit on the DJ. The weapon that was used in the commission of the crime is in police custody and has since been linked to other murders. This is a significant breakthrough that will hopefully provide closure to families involved. This is one of those complex cases that our teams needed to take their time in ensuring a thorough investigation so that we could ultimately bring a strong case before court.
The Senzo Meyiwa murder trial will resume today at the High Court in Pretoria after the court yesterday decided to allow all 5 accused to wear protective pads over their leg irons. Their decision comes after a delay in proceedings when accused number 3, Mthobisi Ncube, cited physical pain and human rights violations. State Prosecutor George Baloyi says all the accused will continue to wear protective pads on their leg irons throughout the remainder of the trial.
There has been an amicable resolution to the issue that occupied the court. Correctional Services has decided to restore the ankle pads, and they're doing so not in the interest of progress in the case.
The Department of International Relations says the owners of BT Football Academy at Kraaifontein in Cape Town must be held accountable after a group of Cape Town youth taking part in a football tournament in Spain were left stranded overseas. The Western Cape Minister of Cultural Affairs and Sport, Ricardo Mackenzie, has arrived in Portugal to assess the situation. The football academy allegedly failed to pay for return flights and accommodation. The BT Academy says in a statement they have reached out to various government departments looking for financial assistance, but none offered help. DECO spokesperson Crispin Puri.
This is an unfortunate situation, and we do hope that the individuals responsible for organizing this trip will be held accountable. We can confirm that the boys are currently in Lisbon, where they've traveled, and are currently housed up in a hotel. Our mission in Lisbon is in contact with the organizers of this football trip.
And finally, further fault U.S. actor Malcolm Jamal Warner, best known for his role as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, has died at the age of 54. Law enforcement say he died by drowning in Costa Rica yesterday. Media reports that he was vacationing with his family when he was pulled out to sea by a rip current. The top story this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended South Gauteng NPA head, Advocate Andrew Chauke, pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. Headlines at 8:30 for SAFM News. I'm Kolofelo Tefo.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
With all the recent headlines, it's time for some good news. A 25-year-old man, Tyler, is smiling all the way to the bank. He switched to Outsurance and now saves a whopping 718 Rand a month on the insurance for his 2021 Ford Figo 1.5. Get a quote today and see how much Outsurance could save you on your car insurance. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Good morning. Welcome to your SFM Sports Headlines. 1 p.m. today, the Proteas, they'll take on unbeaten New Zealand in a showdown with the Tri-Series final on the line. And we're building up tonight to Banyana facing the mighty Super Falcons of Nigeria. This is a Women's Africa Cup of Nations semi-final. You can catch it live on SABC Sport. All this and more just before 8:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
On the N4 northern parts of Pretoria, if you're driving westbound from Durbanport Plaza through towards Rosslyn, the road is closed for recovery of this major crash that we've been detailing this morning, so that's heavy. Eastbound coming through from Rosslyn Road towards Bonnecourt, that's heavy, passing the scene, and there's a whole pile-up of diverting traffic pressure through Pretoria North and through the Vanderboom area. Keep in mind, it's back to school, so those routes were already busy, and now they've got a lot of that N4 traffic coming off and trying to divert through. If you need the N4 between the M1 highway and the Mopani highway, don't use it. Get onto some alternative routes that are far afield from it and from those diversion pressures through the Pretoria North area. Staying in the capital, the N1 South is slowed down towards Linwood Road this morning. Joburg side, not too bad. The N12 and R24 routes in from Ekurhuleni are pretty busy. N1's got some traffic between Beyers Nordia and Rivonia Road. And the main road coming in from Lone Hill into Brighton, that's pretty heavily backed up as well. Durban, the N2 from South Coast, Toti up through to Prospect, and that is eased. Still a lot of traffic on the N2 though, both ways, north to Umgeni Road and southbound a little bit sluggish going into 4 level. The M4 is heavy at Virginia Airport, that's jamming both ways to and from Umhlanga. Cape Town this morning, R300 north queuing up to Van Riebeeck Road. Kilbeson coming through Panorama towards the N1 highway is quite busy, and Marine Drive at this hour, big backlogs from Sunningdale all the way through to Racecourse Road at Milnerton. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8, and with that we are into the third hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. It is absolutely great to be in your company. I'm taking some of your responses to some of the issues that we have covered this morning. In fact, just let me read one or two of those messages that you've been sending through on the WhatsApp line. Someone here says, in response to the conversation we had with Karabo Khakau at the top of 7, someone says the DA is just as corrupt. We experience the blatant neglect, the open support of the wealthy at the expense of the poor. All these political parties know what the other is about. And don't forget the enabling of gangsterism, says that person there who did not sign off on that message. And someone else says, very reminiscent of Gwen Kabinde under Zuma, in reference there to the firing now of former Minister Nobuhle Nkabane. And then Baker from Bloemfontein says the next to be removed is the chairperson, Tebogo Letsie, for protecting the ANC minister. She was too relaxed, knowing that she will be protected by the chairperson. Letsie stifles debates and displays arrogance, according to Baker. The question is, what has been Buti Manamela's role all along? What role and advice did he offer to Nkabane? The appointment of the deputy minister raises a lot of controversies, according to Baker in Bloemfontein there. What I can say, though, is that I've said that I've noticed a bipartisan approach in terms of how that committee in particular has been working. Behavior that is unacceptable was unacceptable across the board. You are right that there have been instances where there have been tensions, and I observed at the last meeting, in fact, there was it Thursday or Friday, the one that the now former minister missed because she had other more pressing matters relating to TVETs. Even there, you could tell the tension between the chairperson and some members of the committee, in particular the DA's Karabo Khakau. So you're absolutely right. That has been a subtext. But when it comes down to it, I think they've been able to function. And I've seen instances where they actually have, their own inside jokes and are able to get the work done in a manner that is quite commendable for a committee that is that diverse. So that's all I can say about that. Let me see if I have one more. If not, I'll then move on and take more of your calls. In fact, I will take your calls. Do give me a call on the number 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. Let's get the third hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
Champions need motivation above and beyond winning. South Africa, show your love and support for the WAFCON defending champions Banyana Banyana. Witness the CAF Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
They both have a rich history of glory. Amakosi tackle the Porcupine Warriors.
This is as good as it gets.
This is the Toyota Cup.
The game you've been looking forward to on your football calendar.
Giants refuse to fall.
The big game.
The big game. On Saturday, 26 July at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus across the entire African continent and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport in proud partnership with Kaizer Chiefs Football Club.
SABC Sport brings you Chasing the Sun, a powerful 5-part documentary series about the Springboks, telling the rousing tale of their path to redemption and ultimate World Cup glory in 2019. Starting on the 13th of July at 7:30 p.m. on SABC2, tune in every Sunday for the highs, the heartache, and the heroics that made rugby history. Stream each chapter on SABC Plus anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. Be there when history shines.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, straight to your calls then. Let me start with one that has to do with Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and some of the allegations and claims that he made about 3 weeks ago, some of which now you're starting to see, for instance, this arrest in the DJ Sumbody case. A lot of people drawing and connecting the dots to say he did say and foreshadow that the work of the Political Killings Task Team working with organized crime SAPS in Gauteng would come to fruition in the way that it is at the moment.
SAFM, good morning, Thulasizwe. Thulas, we applaud General Mkhwanazi as we can see that things are moving in the right direction on the issue of the late DJ Sumbody and now Mr. Chauke, South Gauteng. We are saying it was long overdue for him to be suspended. And we thank General Mkhwanazi for exerting pressure and the task team. Salute to Elo and Kimberley.
Yeah, thank you for that. A lot of people connecting the dots, as I say. Even the suspension of the DPP in South Gauteng region of the NPA also being brought to the fore. It's an issue that had come up from time to time, but I mean, it had been 2 years since the national director had recommended to the president that you need to suspend this person pending an inquiry into their fitness to hold office. And that is coming through now. That process will take place now to inquire into Advocate Chauke's fitness to hold office. Let me take one or two that have to do with the electricity costs and also the overall conversation we've been having about electricity this morning.
Morning, Thulasizwe. I agree with Sputler. It has come to that point where one has to choose from buying enough food or buying enough electricity. I'm telling you, Thulasizwe, when you're going to buy 200 rand electricity, it doesn't last you 2 weeks. If you are lucky, it would be maybe 8 days, 9 days. Then you have to switch off some appliances that you are normally uses every day. So it has come to that point.
This is Anonymous from Makanda. I'm just listening to someone talk about the energy crisis and the Eskom tariffs and the indigent 50 units that we're entitled to. Many indigent citizens still cannot access those 50 units. We deal with very arrogant and cocky young clerks who are dealing with that at the municipality.
Sure.
They are horrible, mean.
Sure. That is distressing to hear. People who need to have access to the assistance provided through the indigent policies of various municipalities should not be subjected to the kind of treatment that you described there out in Makanda. And of course, that whole affordability crisis. And I'm wondering, off the top of my head, whatever happened to programs that were meant to supplement the energy mix in the homes at home level, supplement the energy mix such that those appliances that can be put on, small solar installations, subsidized and perhaps rolled out on a large scale, that would happen, rooftop solar in homes. Because I don't know, it seems to me that seems to have lost a bit of momentum, and it became a project where only those who can afford the expensive solar installations are now driving it forward. I don't know, I could be wrong. There was a sense where I felt like there was genuine momentum towards that, right? I remember the town in the Free State, is it Wynberg? where, some years ago, there were all these solar panels that you could see being installed, solar geysers. Is that still a thing? Is government still driving that so that, the bills of people are driven downward by them being able to take, for instance, basic lighting off the grid? If you're using basic lighting from electricity, Eskom supplied or municipal supplied, cooking and the likes, all of that goes into driving up the cost of electricity in the way that we are experiencing right now. Thabo in Kronstadt, good morning to you. You want to talk about the GNU?
Thank you. Good morning to us and the SA listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I disagree with GNU because now South Africa should have been governed by the private state, surrounded by private entities. Because you can look around South Africa, we are located in the township and the Bantu stand. It's a grave mistake if somebody can think now the GNU is going to do anything for us, because the most of the land, 80% is the hands of the GA, and me and you, we are locked in the township. There is nothing. South Africa should be governed by the private state, surrounded by private entities.
Sure.
Private state is a DA, farms, and the entire land. Private entities, entities.
Mm-hmm.
We are the private state in the township. I don't agree with the GNU. It's a grave mistake for us. We must not vote for that GNU.
Let me understand you correctly. Thabo. Are you saying that the country should be basically privatized, private state surrounded by private entities responding to our needs, or are you just saying that's the reality that we face at the moment?
Yes, I'm saying for since 1994, we are wrongly governed to think it's a democratic country. No, it's a private state. Is the township and the Bantu stand. Private entities is land around the townships. Our democracy end up in the boundaries of the township. When you go out, a farmer there is going to say, "Don't come with the democracy here at my farm. Don't come with the democracy here at my land." Me and you, we are in the private state, in the township and the Bantu stand. South Africa should be governed when the money comes from the provincial, from the national government. After tabling the government, it must come to the regions, to the township, so that we can survive life. That is what I mean to us.
All right, Thabo, thank you for that interesting analysis from Thabo in Kronstadt. We'll make time and take more of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes a bit later on.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
When they walk on the pitch, both teams will believe they will triumph, but reality kicks in during 90 minutes of action. Who will dance to victory between UJ ladies and First Touch ladies? This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ ladies versus First Touch ladies on Sunday 27 July at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
So the 22nd of July is marked as World Brain Day, and South Africa joins the global community in marking that day. There's a powerful message, though, that is being sent out, and hopefully it's resonating across the medical field. It has to do with dementia, and the message says dementia is not inevitable. Nearly half of all cases are actually preventable, with the disease burden rising sharply, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, neurologists are urging citizens to take control of their brain health through informed, proactive choices starting early in life. So let's speak to Dr. Prakash Kathan, who is a member of the Neurological Association of South Africa. Good morning to you, Doc, and thank you for your time. When we talk brain health and taking control of brain health, to what extent are South Africans doing that, and what are the observable consequences of either doing it or not doing it?
Good morning to you and to everyone. The observable consequences, unfortunately, is the dementia that you spoke about earlier. And dementia is essentially what we term cognitive impairment, which is the functioning of the brain in regards to thinking, memory, and all types of those kinds of activities deteriorating to such an extent that it disables a person so that they can't do that effectively. They can't work with such impairment to their cognition or brain health.
So there's this sense, and I suppose it's just general perception, that dementia is an unavoidable part of aging. Is it?
For some people, it can be, but for many people, and a large percentage, as you said, the number can go up to like about 45%. That is what we understand at the moment. A lot of people can avoid it, and that they can avoid it by adopting good habits and to improving their brain health by also treating other disease processes that sometimes get ignored.
So what are some of the factors at play that predispose a person to dementia? And please speak to some that are, unique in a way or more pronounced in the South African context.
So several conditions, but the big medical conditions would be things like hypertension, diabetes, obesity, also certain types of deficiencies like vitamin B12 deficiency, and also HIV. So there's various causes conditions that are treatable, and that's the main point, that can be dealt with. And besides these bad things or medical conditions and diseases, there's also habits such as smoking and alcohol abuse, which can also damage or cause problems with the brain health.
So what's the takeaway message for us, Doc, this morning on World Brain Day? What are some of these proactive steps that we can take that would prioritize our brain health?
So on the one hand, there's that, which is basically to deal with all the all these types of conditions or risk factors, habits that could impair brain health. But then there's also steps that people can do to help improve brain health, and that comes with a healthy diet. The Mediterranean diet is usually the one recommended by academic studies in improving or reducing rather cognitive impairment and improving brain health. Then adequate or enough sleep, regular hours, so that you're not feeling sleepy during the day. Exercise, so both aerobic exercise as well as strength training have shown to be helpful in this regard. And then cognitive stimulation, doing activities of the brain such as which involve learning. And this could be learning a language, learning various skills, doing something extra in your academics, but something not that you are used to doing. Something different.
All right. Thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That's Dr. Prakash Kathan, who is a member of the Neurological Association of South Africa.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Because you never know what I will throw at you. In a way, you're doing what Dr. Prakash was telling us about, brain teasers.
Oh.
I keep your brain active.
Oh, wow.
Your brain, you have me to thank for your brain health.
I would say one brain, but anyway, let's just go with the Proteas. They'll be using a bit of brain and a bit of brawn today. Hopefully they'll be batting smart against New Zealand in this final match of the T20 Tri-Series. Let's hear from the Proteas batter, Coben Bosch.
I think they're both international teams at the end of the day. They can both beat you on any given day. I think it's obviously New Zealand, where obviously they've got the players that are more well-known and higher caliber, as one would say, in, as you said, in all due respect. But I think they're both capable of playing fantastic games of cricket. So no matter what game you play, you have to be on it. And I think obviously the margins are just smaller when you come up against teams like New Zealand.
Now we've got the defending champions, Banyana. They'll be taking on the 9-time champions, Nigeria, in a blockbuster semi-final that starred Lalbi Zauli Casablanca, the Super Falcons seeking a 10th title. But South Africa arrive in good form as the reigning WAFCON holders. You can catch the action live 6 p.m. on SABC Sport. Now, the Kaizer Chiefs marketing director and board member Jessica Motong insists they will follow due process on the Premier Soccer League's dispute resolution chamber case that involves Cape Town Spurs player Asavela Velibai and Luke Bartman. Now, SABC Sport reported that Spurs has taken the case involving the two players and left back Liam Byrne, who is with Amazulu, asking them to return to the club. Now, both players have signed with Chiefs as free agents, a move that Spurs are challenging. Motong says they will make announcements when the time is right.
I think what's important is that we are in the business of doing things in a way that's not going to interfere with other clubs. We want to follow certain procedures, and that relates to any other players that we're looking at. So we're taking a very professional approach in terms of integrating and bringing players into the team. So we'll make sure that we only make announcements when the time is right. So watch the space, but certainly we can't be engaging on players who are still with teams or are still contracted. Once there are any changes, we'll make the announcements.
Is there a legal process underway?
There's just a process, and that process will be followed. And once that process is done, we'll make an announcement.
And finally, tennis. Venus Williams enjoying a winning return after a year away. The 45-year-old American teamed up with compatriot Haile Baptiste to win their round of 16 women's doubles at the Washington Open 6-3, 6-1 against Eugene Bouchard and Clervy Ngunu. And that's a wrap of the morning brief. We'll be serving up sport with John Hedeker around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
Thank you, Zai. Good morning. In the headlines this hour, Parliament's Police and Justice and Constitutional Development Committees are meeting this morning to discuss the terms of reference that will outline the work of an ad hoc committee as a means for the institution to look into issues of national security. Student organisation SASCO has welcomed the appointment of Butimana Mela as Higher Education Minister, and South Gauteng NPA head Advocate Andrew Chauke has been suspended pending an inquiry into his fitness to hold office. I'll have details at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy on that northern part of Pretoria's N4. This is the Bekwena Highway, the Rustenburg Highway. Big crash today between the Bonaccord exit and Roslyn Road. Very heavy both ways. If you're going through Durham-Port Plaza on your way towards Rustenburg, that's bad. If you're coming in from the Mopani Highway through Roslyn Road, that is bad as well. Big queues locally as motorists divert down Lavender Road into Vanderboom and come off and divert along the Roslyn Road from the N4 down into that sort of Pretoria North area. So major traffic congestion in that part of Pretoria. Crash on Joburg's Mike 1 South, just around Marlborough Drive. So coming off Buccleuch interchange on your way to Sandton, it's very heavy. R21 towards the airport now queuing into the roadworks by Pomona Road, and the N12 and R24 routes in from Ekurhuleni side, quite heavy still at this hour into Galuli's interchange. Durban, the M4 at Virginia Airport that was backed up both ways is slightly slow, but it's well off its worst. Durban through Pietermaritzburg looks fine. No major problems there this morning. No breakdowns at this stage, at least of the course. looking in major trouble. And Cape Town, the N1, moving into town pretty slow from Plattekloof Hill all the way to the elevated freeway. The M5 is backlogging through Kenilworth, Rondebosch up towards Kuburg, interchange. And if you're driving into Stellenbosch from Paarl, there's still quite a backlog to work through on the R44. That's into a crash just after the Cromrie Road. That's the Klapmuts Road on your way from Paarl to Stellenbosch. And don't forget the recovery out west of Mbombela on the N4 between Shagan and Montrose. The traffic backlog seems to have, I'm just getting an update, seems to have got through that particular section. It's moving a lot better than it was earlier, but there are still some delays on the Mbombela bound carriageway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Right, Ndauling, let me start with this. If I forget, do remind me. There's a request from a listener. We were talking a short while ago with Dr. Prakash Kathan about brain health, etc. Sometimes I also forget, you know. I'm not the super learning machine that you think I am.
Oh, gosh.
Let's start with Old Mutual. Tell me about Old Mutual being concerned about the country's retirement landscape.
And this was revealed in the group's mid-year outlook. The head of financial education at Old Mutual, John Manyike, said the introduction of the two-part system could lead to more South Africans retiring in poverty. He further expressed concerns that early withdrawals from retirement funds could exacerbate the already dire retirement savings landscape, that is, where only 6% of people retire adequately in the country. Now, from the insurer's findings, since the system's inception, Old Mutual has seen nearly 4 billion rands in withdrawals, with around 2.8 billion rands reaching fund members. The average withdrawal was just over 12,200. Manyike noted that most withdrawals are being made by individuals between 31 and 40 years old, with those earning between 5,000 and 10,000 rands per month being the most vulnerable. Manyike also highlighted the issue of unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, which poses risks for the future, warning that the economy's inability to create jobs for young people could lead to increased dependency on the state, unsustainable social spending, and weigh on retirement security.
Yeah. So from retirement, let's talk mining. Tell me about Sibanye-Stillwater acquiring a new asset in the United States.
So the miner has picked up a US-based precious metal recycler, Metallix Refining, for close to 1.5 billion rands. The acquisition is expected to boost Sibanye's global recycling reach and urban mining strategy. Now, Metallix Refining specializes in producing recycled gold, silver, and PGMs from industrial waste streams. This acquisition aligns with Sibanye's goal of growing its presence in the urban mining sector, leveraging secondary sources of PGMs while reducing the environmental impact tied to traditional mining. It's also the second acquisition in the space. In 2023, Sibanye acquired US metals recycler Relden. Now, analysts welcomed the move, saying the deal provides Sibanye with increased shelter from the US's protectionist foreign policy stance. Sibanye's PGM operations will also benefit from the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, allowing the company to claim back 10% of its production costs.
All right, what kind of a day do the markets have in store for us on this Tuesday?
It'll likely be another day of green screens for local markets, boosted by higher commodity prices. And that, in addition to a softer dollar, is also fueling the strength we are seeing in the rand. It is sitting at 17.60 to the greenback this morning. Looking at company news, traders will be waking up to a production update from Sasol. So a thin day when it comes to local company news, but that Sasol update and some of the international company news will be driving activity here at home. Over in Wall Street, investors, of course, eyeing those company earnings as they filter through. Futures remain mixed. Then lastly, in Asia, markets also choppy, mixed, mostly in the red, with the exception of Chinese markets, with the Shanghai Composite and the Hong Kong Index trading in positive territory.
So Thabo, not Peter in the KZN Midlands, believes you to be a promise keeper and not be like a politician, right? So Peter is asking that please ask Ndauling to give us the oil price in her financial update.
Okay.
That's an easy one, yeah?
That's an easy one. I can do that. I can add it to the markets.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That is Ndauling Lechela. So there you have it, Peter. Consider it done from Ndauling.
We love rating things, our phones, our cars, but our health? Your health lets you do what you love with the people you love. So who are you staying healthy for, and how can you improve your health? Choose Dischem Life, the life cover that helps you live a healthier, more rewarding, longer life with regular health checks. Visit dischemlife.co.za now. Dischem Life. Choose a better partner for life. Dischem Life is an authorized FSP 50594, underwritten by Guard Risk Life, a licensed life insurer, FSP 76. T's and C's apply.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Nominees will be announced in August. Let us celebrate #IsinJaseGame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday, 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's take one or two of your voice messages and then go to your calls. Let me take this one that has to do with higher education, I believe, in light of the minister that was fired by President Cyril Ramaphosa last night.
Morning, Thulasizwe, Katlego here in Cape Town. Wasn't the now Deputy Minister of Higher Education one of those people that were appointed to be chair of the boards? Will this not haunt her tenure as Deputy Minister, because parliamentarians will still want her to account as to how was she appointed? Were there no dealings with the minister that led her being appointed as chairperson of the board, the new Deputy Minister of Education?
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube was one of the names that was mentioned in the original list that was then rescinded by the then Minister of Higher Education, Nobuhle Nkabane. And you're absolutely right. You can expect that members of parliament from various political parties will still pull at that thread and ask, hang on, you were part of that list that was discredited. How come your name was on there? What was the process involved? But, you know, it now stands for us to see how she accounts for that, if at all she needs to account for that. And, you know, I don't know if there's anything in particular that precludes the president from appointing her in the absence of a finding that she was involved in any kind of wrongdoing. But you're absolutely right. It will haunt her. You can expect that some parties will ask her that, did it just so happen by coincidence that your name was added along other high-ranking ANC officials, or was there something more to it? Those questions will certainly not go away. Let me hear what someone has to say about the Democratic Alliance.
Yes, good morning, SFM. Yes, I fully agree with the sentiment of the DA. That is very, very corrupt. If you look at most of our problems on the Cape Flats, it's because of the DA. For instance, this housing project, it's all this Malusi boy and the donkey boys that also used to work for the city council. They turned up high flyers and criminals. So the DA groomed all these criminals over these years. Now today they behave like angels.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. That current of discontent about DA governance, particularly in the Western Cape and in Cape Town, is a common theme that you pick up from time to time from people who reside in the Western Cape. So thank you for raising that once again this morning. Kwezi in Kumbu, good morning. You want to talk about the electricity crisis? Ngiyaphila kunjani mfo?
Khona mfowethu. Mnguni, the electricity prices that are spiraling out of control are very concerning.
Yeah.
Now, this has brought about energy inequality in South Africa.
Sure.
The main reason why we are being charged exorbitant prices is because we are still paying for the projects like Medupi, Kusile, and Ingula that were allowed to run beyond their completion time. If you remember, let's take Imedupi for an example. Imedupi was budgeted for something like 75 billion rand. But because of the delays, it escalated up to close to 200 billion rand. So there is no other alternative. Eskom has to charge those overruns from the customers. That's why we are paying. And as a result, as a country, we are not going to be able to achieve some of the Millennium Development Goals that have to do with the preservation of the environment. Because here where I'm staying in the Eastern Cape, people have gone back to fetching firewood and thereby cutting down trees, which is against one of the Millennium Development Goals that was set out in the World Summit on Sustainable Development in Joburg in 2002. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Kwezi. What a fascinating call. A well thought out argument there from Kwezi about the electricity costs and just the crisis of affordability. And I like that he takes it to the extent of linking it to the strategic development goals and whether or not we would continue to be on track to achieve those. Quite a fascinating, well thought through call there from Kwezi.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, let's see if we can take one or two other voice notes. Someone here wants to talk about Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Morning, Trust. I'm concerned about the counterpart of Mkhwanazi in another province. Why are they not saluting him? Including the defense force. Why are they not saluting him? Are they not united?
All right, thank you for that. I don't have a frame of reference. I'm afraid I can't offer you anything of value, in engagement. So let me leave it there. Maybe in the coming days, once I know what's the frame of reference about saluting, then I might offer you something better. Right now, I'll just be waffling, and I don't want to do that.
Hi, morning, Thulasizwe. It's Charlie here from Durban. I was just wondering how long it'll take for the Fire Minister to join the MK party. It seems that all the ex-ANC government ministers and politicians seem to go that direction. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
All right. That's an interesting one. I don't know if that will happen. But let's wait and see. You'd never know. There's never a dull day in our politics, and you can never predict what the next move will be. But thank you for that.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
All right, let's go to this now. Prior to her dismissal by President Ramaphosa, the South African Students' Federation had issued a scathing condemnation of the then Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, accusing her of failing to address the escalating NSFAS crisis that continues to devastate the lives of students nationwide. The SASF is calling for her immediate resignation, which has now happened, the removal from office, as well as that of the NSFAS CEO Wasim Karim, citing systemic failures in funding, student accommodation, and the departmental accountability being an issue of concern. Let's speak to Keamokhetswe Masike, who is the South African Students' Federation National President. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. I suppose it's inevitable, Keamokhetswe, that we will start with your reaction. You had called for the resignation of the minister, in particular linking it to the crisis at NSFAS. I take it you welcome her exit.
Good morning, Thulasizwe, my brother, and thank you for having us this morning. Look, we are very excited. In actual fact, when we learned of these developments last evening, we knew that the minister is about to, be reshuffled by the president, because we we engaged extensively with the Department of Higher Education, of course, relaying our concerns about ignorance and arrogance towards issues that plague the higher education sector, in particular issues that relate to NSFAS, the accommodation crisis, the late payments of our students, and etc. So when we learned of these developments, it was as if we had went to consult a witch doctor. But I can tell you, we're very happy and excited that amid the statement that we had released in the morning calling for her resignation, in the evening, indeed, the president had, attended to that particular clarion call.
So the former minister is now gone, but the problems with NSFAS remain, as far as I understand. And we've been talking about it for months, Kiamokhetsu. I've revisited this conversation quite a number of times on this very show. What's your best attempt at explaining to a person outside of the system how much more pronounced the crisis of NSFAS is this year as compared to previous years?
Look, it's very unfortunate, Pratula, that on a yearly basis we are always having a problem that speaks to NSFAS. I think this is a systematic challenge that on a yearly basis we have to speak about NSFAS. But this year things have gotten worse, where we saw thousands of students who are enrolled in different universities and TVET colleges getting defunded during this current ongoing academic year. We saw many of these kids not receiving their allowances. In actual fact, when we submitted a memorandum on the 25th of June, the Department of Education, we also learned that come now the second semester, the number of defunded students that we had in the first semester was bound to increase. So I can tell you now, we've received concrete information and intelligence from our students that reach out to us on a daily basis that indeed the defunding process has begun. So, even with Butimanamela coming into the picture now, we are not expecting any miracle to happen because he's someone that has been in the sector. He led in the previous administration, the failed administration of Dr. Platon Zimande, where some of these issues were still existing. So we are not really expecting much from him. But I can tell you that we're facing a lot of problems, and our next center of focus is that the CEO of NSFAS, Wasim Karim, must resign.
And where is the crisis concentrated as far as you are concerned? Is it that nexus between NSFAS and accommodation providers, or is it what you are calling defunding? And by that, what do you mean?
When we are saying defunding, is that there are students that have received a social contract from NSFAS, meaning that these students were funded during the first quarter of the academic year, given food allowances, given accommodation allowances. But surprisingly, just before their main exams, their junior exams, NSFAS decided to recklessly defund them without proper justification. These students have written countless emails to NSFAS seeking clarity on that particular question. But till today, NSFAS has failed to, attend to those particular issues. In actual fact, I'm in conversation with NSFAS officials on a daily basis where we just, submit queries on individual cases. And I can tell you those particular officials there, they don't even have an answer. And my main concern is that amid all these developments, we are bound to, finish this academic year without some of these issues, being resolved, because they said to us they are waiting for Treasury to allocate funds because NSFAS does not have money for some of these students. We're having a TVET cycle question now, where some students that are enrolled in our universities, their funding allocation was allocated in TVET colleges. Those students don't have accommodation as we speak. They're not getting any meal support. They're not getting any form of assistance, even from their universities.
Right.
So, it's a bad and it's a disaster.
So where does that leave us? I get a sense that we are almost at a tipping point, certainly as far as your pronouncements about this crisis is concerned. What are some of the next steps and options available to you?
We will be writing to the current minister, Butimanamela, of course submitting the previous memorandum of that we had submitted to the outgoing minister Nobuhle, because the same issues are still there. It's the same issues, nothing has changed. To engage with him in a face-to-face meeting, try to attempt to, propose some of the solutions that we've provided in that particular memorandum that seeks to address these issues, and then we will take it from there. Failure for him to address to these issues, we have said it yesterday that we're only giving him 2 weeks to respond to some of these particular challenges. Failure for him to do that, we will go to the threat and demand action around some of these issues, because we can no longer wait, for a miracle to happen in trying to resolve these particular issues.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Thulasizwe Simelane, who is the South African Students Federation president.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Northern parts of Pretoria still under real pressure. A big side-pivot truck crash and multi-vehicles involved earlier this morning. It happened between the Bonaccord and Rosslyn exits. The N4 is still under real pressure, both directions into this scene, particularly westbound from Durham-Port Plaza and eastbound from Rosslyn Road. So the highway standing, going to take a long time to get past that. Lavender Road coming off the N4 at that Bonaccord exit, and Rosslyn Road coming off the N4 on the other side. Both of those routes very heavily backed up into the Vanderboom part of Pretoria. There's also been a crash on the M1 North at Rigel Avenue, so getting up through the R21, that's all quite heavy. Roadworks on the R21 approaching the airport at Pomona Road causing delays. The Mike 1 from Buccleuch heading down towards Sandton, that stays fairly busy this morning. And if you're leaving Randburg, Republic Road all jammed up out towards Winnie Mandela on your way to Sandton. You're going to be asked to queue up through there. Durban easing up nicely. Cape Town going to be busy for a bit longer. The N2 inbound from Langa, N1 into town, sitting from around about sort of N1 City Mall. Both of those highways very busy. And the R44 coming from Paarl into Stellenbosch, earlier crash near Cromray Road, still slowing traffic. That's the Clubmuts Road as you head down through that scene. It is looking better. It is off its worst, but it's still a touch on the slow side. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Have you recently migrated to the new TV licenses payment website? Make sure your account stays active by registering again or resetting your password. Don't miss out on all the fantastic new features our brand new website offers. Get registered today and stay connected with us. With the new website, get your payments done quickly and hassle-free with a wide range of services. So make sure you register to take advantage of all the great client features. Visit www.tvlic.co.za today. TV licenses, do it for the things that matter.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 750-gram Nola mayonnaise for $36.99. Save R8. Fresh pack Rooibos Tagless tea bags, 80s for $44.99. Save R9. Or 80-gram Cadbury chocolate slabs. Buy any two for R32. Save R16. Plus, you could win your share of R6 million in instant cash. Prices valid until 6 August 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival in partnership with SAFM, where music, culture and community come alive. Join us on the 2nd of August 2025 at Pretoria Botanical Gardens from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal musician Calvin Momo, Amanda Black, Zing Lumalo, Trompis and many more. More than just music. Share stories, spark change, and unite against gender-based violence. Grab your tickets at imbaula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm, feel the heat. Imbaula. Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
I want to read two messages that have come through that speak to the diversity of opinion that I truly appreciate about our engagements every morning. The first one says, partisan victory or non-victory, that's not necessarily issues that should be held high. Yet we find ourselves hearing from the spokespersons claiming or disclaiming victories on their behalf. They should be learning from such so they can mature to hold public office instead of advocating for the next vote. There are no victors or losers in the waste of the limited resources that we have and the inhumanely huge financial packages that politicians take away in the name of service to us, while it is service to themselves. So that's in response to the conversations we had at the start of the second hour about the bipartisan nature in which the Committee on Higher Education seems to be working, as well as the victory that the DA is claiming around the pressure that was exerted to result in the expulsion of former Minister Nobuhle Nkabane. Then immediately, another message coming through from Nkosinathi Luthuli in Soweto says, the fact that the DA is opposed to the NHI and possibly other programs that are aimed at improving ordinary black South Africans is enough to convince me that the ANC is better than them being the DA. So that's the message there from Nkosinathi Luthuli. Just the diversity, the different directions in which people pull, the healthy friction and opinions that are expressed on a daily basis in our interactions. Let me take a quick voice note before I say goodbye.
Thulasizwe, it's Rudy here. Listen, is there any plausible reason, any rational reason why the president doesn't have to give reasons for his decisions when he hires or fires people? Is there any reason why the president can act at his own discretion and only his own discretion? If we have a democracy that should be constituted on the principle of consultation, inclusion, and democratic principles, what is the reason for this? What I would consider very selfish notion of the president's discretion. It sounds quite colonial, really.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. It does have its roots in the colonial, imperial president, the Governor General, back in the days of the Union of South Africa, where, the governor had certain powers, but, those were watered down quite significantly and dispersed, and also they're categorized as the president acting as head of state and head of the executive. I think part of it has to do with a lot of what the president does is not administrative action, in the sense that you can be entitled to reasons that you can then subject to a review. He is held to certain standards that include that he must act legally. Of course, he can't just do things without any basis in law. And his decisions have to be rational. But a lot of them are not decisions like an organ of state that, you will be entitled to go and ask, what's the record of decision? What did you have in front of you when you reached this decision, and then take it on review in the courts? Of course, it's also being challenged quite significantly in a healthy manner before our courts. I think it has its roots in that history, but as I say, it's being watered down and being challenged quite significantly. But there's no reason. It would be good practice, many would say, for him to say, I'm not supposed to, there's nothing binding me to give you reasons, but I choose to be transparent and tell you this is the reason. All right, I've overstayed my welcome. Thank you for engaging this morning. The Talking Point is up next here on SAFM after the news. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane, and you've been briefed.
Top stories this hour. Parliament looks into issues of national security, and WHO demands release of staff member from Israel. Good morning. Parliament's Police and Justice and Constitutional Development Committees are meeting this morning to discuss the terms of reference that will outline the work of an ad hoc committee as a means for the institution to look